it's also the last day of class, so the students are actually not alive. They're just human beings. I think a couple more people will trickle in after we've gotten started, but let's go ahead and dive in. I think it's
Sure.
time.
Sure. And we'll come back to this screen later also when we will actually, start with the exercise or the quiz.
Cool. Okay.
Right.
Well, thank all of you. We want to welcome the MasterBorn team, who is remoting in from Poland. Gray Skinner is one of the leaders of the MasterBorn team, and actually was involved in an excellent startup that was based here in Bend for many years, and of course, is also a semi-professional cyclist. Can I say semi-professional or professional?
Yeah, that's that works. Yeah.
Anyway, this team is fantastic. They have many years with an interesting perspective in software engineering and software development. Of course, that's our focus. So here again, I think today we can walk out of our meeting being a little bit better, right? A little bit better software engineer, a little bit better developer. So instead of you hearing it from me, it'll be fantastic to hear their perspective. So thanks very much. And at the end, there'll be some, well, during this, there'll be some interaction with the app, and we'll have some time for questions after. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that introduction. And hello, everyone. We're, of course, super excited seeing you all on our today's presentation about whether software development, well, is just about the coding. So those are going to be mainly like 3 tips to become an exceptional developer. And by that, we mean one that has like a big impact on the greatness of a product, one that is extremely efficient at work, and thanks to that can actually stand out on the market from our perspective. So everything we will say is going to be from product owner's perspective, product owners of MasterBorn. And by that, I mean myself, Marta, Karolina, and Magda. Girls, you can wave. I don't know if you can all see us. I guess we have a small screen, but yeah, we're waving here. Right, and before we start, I would like to hand it over to Gray. Gray is our CEO, and Gray will give you all the context on why we're here, who we are, and what is in this presentation for you.
All right. Thanks, Marta. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I know it's the last day of class. Congrats on making it through another semester. Almost. We'll have you for one more hour here. But anyway, really nice to speak to you guys. I met Yang 4 or 5 years ago when he first came to Bend. I had a startup, as he mentioned, called Dropler, based in Bend with a lot of local investors. And we exited that company in 2019, and I started MasterBorn. Really, the reason we started MasterBorn was because it was really hard to find really good developers in the United States to build and to supply teams of startup engineers or of startups that were getting funded. So, I think that we didn't have OSU Cascades when 5 years ago when we were doing it. So I'm really happy that Yang and people are investing in education of software developers. We need a lot more in the U.S. I had to go to Poland to find them, but we've through the last 5 years we've built a pretty incredible team, and we've learned a lot about building great products. We have a team of 70. We build products for U.S. companies exclusively, almost all American startups. And sort of based on my experience working in the U.S. and having my own companies, it kind of we've really honed in on how to best build software. And it's not about we call it we really like to build products, and that I would say that we're a product development software house. And so anyway, along those lines, we've just learned a ton about building great products. And so we're coming to you from the product owner's perspective. We've got a lot of kind of things that we'll share with you that we've learned along the way. And I think that kind of to sum up like the main point, and you've probably heard this 100 times, but it's not just about the coding. You need a lot more than great development skills to be really effective. And this is really coming from the lesson that we've learned. Like, people come to us thinking they need developers to fill open roles, but they really need people to understand the value that they're trying to bring into the world and help them do that better. And so for us, that starts with product owners. Of course, we have 50 developers as well, and the developers end up actually building the products, but the product owners for us are kind of a filter, and we want to share with you guys as developers ways that you can be more effective, save time, and have a bigger ultimately impact in your work. So yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to the team, and yeah, glad we can be here.
Thanks, Gray, a lot. And we hope it gave you some background about our company, our work, and the work in software development. And now I have one question for you. We have one question for you. And we need you to go to the link that we sent you, that we show you just before. Maybe, Magda, we can show it one more time, because I'm not sure if everyone was in the class. Okay. Okay,
Cool.
great.
There are more hearts are coming, so yeah, more people joined. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Okay. So the question is, what is the developer's role in a software project? And we want you to give us all answers that comes to your mind. There are not bad answers, and you can answer multiple times. So please write everything that comes to your mind. If there will be already answer that you think that it's right and it should be there, you please write it one more time, because this tool works this way, that if we have the same answer, like, it's getting bigger. So we will know that it's something that you really, really feel, and it's not just one person, but a few of us.
Oh, got the first one.
Coding, writing code. Interpret requirements.
Problem
Delivering
solving.
value.
Nice. I like problem solving.
I love delivering value.
Mentor. Yeah, that's good. Ideas to product collaborator. High quality code. That's nice too. Oh, communication. Yay.
Nice teamwork. It's really nice that you're adding here so many ideas.
Yeah. Design decisions. I like this one.
And fix stuff.
So now testing is also quite big. Okay, so maybe I think we can stop here. There are a lot of ideas here, and I love it. I wasn't sure how many of you will add anything, and that's really amazing. So you gave us your insights. Now through the presentation, we will give you our ones, and we would like to go back to what we just together created in the end of our lecture, and then we will have some discussions about this. So please remember to keep this link. And now I will be telling you a little about our agenda, so you won't be surprised during our lecture. Okay, so first we will be telling you about product team. What is the product team? Who is the part of this? And then about the role of product owner. Why we are here? Why we think that we can give you some tips. And then we'll go to the main part, so 3 tips for developers. It will be understand the why, speak up, and be agile. And we'll be focusing on your role on developer in every of these ones. Then in the end, there is a summary. In summary, we'll go back to the exercise that we just had. And during the presentation, we'll have some quizzes. So don't be surprised. And it will be the same link. And in the end, there will be a Q&A section. In this time, we want to answer a few of your questions that you asked us before the lecture. And thank you a lot for that.
Great. Okay, so I think we can start. So before we give you our 3 tips, and I know that you are all waiting for them, so we want to give you some introduction just to set some basics. So we will start with telling you like what is actually the product team. And also we will shed some light, as Karolina said, on why are we not the developers here, just to give you this presentation. So let's start with the real goal of a software project. And this is like the first hard question that we want to answer, that we want you to answer. So let's jump back to the Mentimeter. So what's, in your opinion, is a real goal of a software project? We've got 3 possible answers. So how do you think? Whether it's to release a product with 0 bugs, whether it's to build a great product, or to create as many features as possible?
I like how those dots come together.
You know it already. I don't know if you need a lecture.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Job is done.
Okay, one person said it's to release a product with 0 bugs. We always aim for it, although it's not possible, but let's aim for it. It's great as well. But yeah, the main goal is to build a great product. And when we are thinking about building a product, I don't know like what you think, but I always have in mind the development team. So people who are actually building it. So there would be front-end developers, back-end developers, as you see, designers, QA, and hopefully, fingers crossed, all of you will have a tester in your team, at least one. But yeah, so we usually think about this being the product team, but it's not just that, because where would they get the ideas from, and how would they know whether they are building the right product? They actually need someone for that, and this is business. And only with business people, development team together can aim to build a great product, because business brings in the idea, the market research, and so on, and the developers know how to actually build it. So I want you to remember that throughout our presentation, and we'll come back to that with the tips and different stages of this lecture. I want you to remember that everything you do in the software development, you should always remember about aiming for building a great product, and this should be your main goal. So, yeah.
Exactly. And just as Magda said, the product team goal is to build a great product. But how come that product owner can tell you how to build this great product? Well, I want you to think about it like that way. If on one side we have business, so someone who wants to create this product, and on the other side we have the tech team, so people who will actually be building it, executing it, there always has to be someone that will connect these two parties. So there has to be someone that understands both sides, so that the ball can actually start rolling. And this is the moment where the product owner comes into play. When product owners, I mean us. So we talk to business, so we know the context of what is behind the product. And we also talk to you, the tech team, thanks to what we can tell if and even how doable this business idea is. And you may think, okay, but why we actually need this to add this middleman? Can the tech team and the business communicate directly? Well, yeah, they could, but it's having two crowds trying to communicate in different languages, I would say. So even if they would have a sort of a translator, sort of like a representative, they wouldn't get along because of the language barrier. So they would need a translator. Well, I spoiled. Well, a little spoiler there was. So best solution in that case is to have someone who knows the language of those two groups. So in other words, well, a product owner. And having this position in between, being in between, is exactly why we are here telling you how your skills, your knowledge, and your expertise can contribute into building this great product. And you will also find out that it might not always be about the coding. And moving on to not the easiest question, who is a product owner? Have you ever heard before a definition of this role? Maybe some of you did, but because it varies across different organizations, different work models, different frameworks. But I'll try to explain it more or less how it works at our company at MasterBorn. So I want to leave the software development work for a while, just to give you an example, and stick to something more of a daily life, like coffee, for example, right? So imagine that someone asks you to prepare a coffee. And let's assume that you have this coffee machine. So you'd probably do what? As every normal person, just grab a mug, get to the coffee machine, and click the right button. That would be more or less it, right? Maybe before you would ask if they want some cappuccino, maybe espresso, or I don't know, you're very eager and you want to ask them for a pumpkin spice latte. Well, that can happen, but with the coffee machine. But yeah, that would be more or less it, right? Yeah, well, not for the product owner. What the product owner would do is they would say, of course, it's not a problem. I can prepare you a coffee, but what exactly do you need that coffee for? And the answer would probably be, well, for drinking, right? And the product owner would dig deeper, but yes, of course, for drinking, but why exactly? What is the problem that you want to solve? And then the response is, I don't know, I guess I need to boost my energy level. And the PO is, aha, that's right. And why do you need more energy? And like, we can go on and on with this. Like couldn't like stop on this like little example, but I think it's like enough for you to get a sense of who the product owner is. And your guessing is probably right, because the product owner is one hell of a pain in the back, honestly. But it is done for a good reason. Like, because our job is to find and understand the problem that this business is trying to solve. If we investigate it, if we get like super really into it, even become its enthusiast, and yes, well, that happens, we can then explain it to our development team, and together like define the problem that actually will solve this business problem. Sorry, define the product that will solve this business problem, obviously. And this is exactly like what we do in the first step. We run all these like annoying interviews because we need to understand the business and find the why. And make sure that you, the tech team, are also familiar with that why. And what why exactly is, we're going to find out in a minute.
Yeah, so Marta already spoiled it, I think. We'll now go on to those
Sorry.
3 tips for developers. Yeah, so when getting ready to this lecture, we wanted to bring you the best advice possible. And when we are talking about exceptional developers, we try to think about all the great developers that we've met during our careers. And we were thinking about those people that if we were to put together a dream team, they would be on it for sure. And we thought about them, and we thought about like what makes them special and what makes them different, and like why they are so great to work with. So we found those 3 things, and we turned them into 3 tips, each like one for each product lifecycle. It's each stage of product lifecycle. So before we go into those, I want to explain like what those stages are. So first we start with discovery. We need to discover what is the problem. Karolina and Marta will say more about it, but like we need to discover what is the problem, brainstorm, and understand the purpose of this product. Then we would go to the define stage, in which we would actually speak solutions. And in the end, we would deliver it. So let's get to it.
Exactly. Starting with the why that I already told you a little bit about. The why in general may consist of many things, especially for software development. Like you might have heard about that like before, of the concept of the why. It's kind of a well-known concept, but it like fits very well in the software development world, let's say. So before we start, I was wondering if you might be having some ideas into what the why is. And now I want to fire up with a little quiz again. And I was wondering, what do you think? What stands behind the why? The question should be, what stands behind the why? And this is actually a multiple answer option, so we can choose more than one answer. I see the problem that needs to be solved. It fits well what you said also on the beginning. How are we building this for? Yes, this is also one of the factors that is has the most votes. Software product with all possible features has the list of the votes right now. Okay, yeah, so I think we can like, well, I see actually what you have responded. So yes, you are mostly right. This is going to be it, because we can go back to the presentation now. Thank you. So the business will always have like the purpose and the motive, and the driver for them like should always be solving an existing problem for a very specific group of people. So you got it like very like perfectly. And the way the business like solve this problem is the way that they also feel in the need on the market. Let's take Slack, for example, right? And their like latest release. Slack have noticed that international cooperation expands as we work remotely more and more often. And the problem for people from one country might be like pronouncing names of people from different country, right? Like people from US might struggle to read correctly Polish names. Like, I don't know, try to read Karolina's surname. I think you don't have a big screen, but it's like super super difficult probably for you. So what did Slack do? Like they will now allow like its users to record like how to read their names. So thanks to that, other users can don't have this thinking intensively how to read this person's name. They can just go ahead, click the right button, and they know how to read the name. So
yeah, and we've
was
got
there...
a lot of Przemeks, Szymons,
yeah.
Krzysztofs,
Guess what?
and other like
Yeah, totally. So yeah, was there a problem? Yes. Were there groups of people affected by the problem? Definitely. And did Slack's new feature solve this problem? Totally. I mean, it was a total problem solver. So yeah, as simple as that. That is the why.
And why you, as developers, should also know the why of the product, the why of the client. Because only when you know that, you are able to choose the best solutions for the product. You are technical experts in the team, and only you are able to choose the solutions that will give the product the biggest chance to be successful. Of course, there are plenty of other factors that affect this success, but I want you to remember that you are responsible for this technical part. And on these 4 images, you can they show the results of misunderstanding of the why. It's so easy in the project to follow this path of focusing too much on how customer explains their product rather than looking for the reasons. Our real goal after the customer explains the product is not to understand all the provided requirements, but to discover the why. Only then we are able to start the discussion about what are the needs. Customers are mostly not UX specialists, and they are not developers. And because of this, they can communicate only the solutions they know rather than providing you the best solutions for their product. And you can see that on these images. Customer explains their product as a swing. And you can also see that they needed a swing, but just very different one from the one that they described. Now, I want you to think about some development example. Imagine that your client or product owner explains you the process for registration. The client does not want to use a ready solution that exists on the market, but they want you to build a custom process for authentication. So they explain you how they want this to work, and you should try to understand all the requirements and design the solution, right? Hell no. It's so important that you will ask why the client does not want to use a ready solution. Again, you are the expert. And the client or product owner does not necessarily have enough of knowledge about existing solutions on the market. It might be that the client just heard from their friend that this kind of solutions are not secure enough or they are too expensive. And only when you ask, you will get this information. And then you will get the needs, whether it be security or money. And only then you are able to start looking for the solution that will be really the best for this product. And I hope that it gave you some sense about what is the why you should know that. And you can see that it's directly connected to defining the solutions. So now let's go into this part.
Actually, before we move on, I opened the Q&A section and I saw a very great question that was asked, and I would like to jump in and actually answer that. And ladies, just tell from your perspective, how do you feel about that?
Sure.
So the question is, what is your method for discovery and definition for a product? Do you have a resource for learning what questions to ask to fully understand the why of a product? And I think this is a very interesting, a method for discovery and definition for a product. Well, you might try to follow, for example, business analysis body of knowledge. Is a very big book that can give you a lot of frameworks in terms of how to do that. But to be honest, in the real life, it doesn't always work. It can give you a sort of a frame, but you don't need to always follow a frame in a way. So my response for that would be how to discover this why is by asking questions, and is by asking, and what is even more important is it can be never can be biased questions. So you never can suggest an answer, or you cannot give let's say a question that has 2 options to choose from, right? It's if you want to really discover, and if you want to really see what is this problem that this business is trying to solve, then you definitely need to open up your mind like a lot, like get really into that subject, and just like try to really talk with that business so that you ask the questions that do not suggest any of the answer, I would say.
And there is like a great method that it's called 5 whys.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
one.
back to the why. So
Mhm.
I think that Marta gave a great example of that when she was telling us about the coffee. So like, I want to drink coffee, but why do you want to drink coffee? Because I like coffee, but like, why do you like coffee? And you get to the source, I would say. And also, I feel like the other great method that I use a lot is a paraphrase. So like, you need to
Mhm.
like say the same what the client told you, but in different words. And when they hear it like said differently, they can also like give you a hint, or they may tell you, okay, yeah, this is that, but also. So yeah.
Or
Mhm.
they can say that they didn't mean that.
Yeah. And this would help you a lot as well. So there are multiple techniques, but I think like the quickest one and the easiest one, ask a lot of questions and use empathy,
Yeah,
let's say.
There's
definitely.
also
Try to
another
feel in for
question about like how many developers are typical on the team. So I think it's also something that we can answer quite easily.
Mhm.
I would say that in our company, it's mostly for developers, 2 front-end and 2 back-end developers. That's our like perfect team. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller, but it's already like I think it's the most common.
And a QA specialist.
Yes, but
We
we
need
have to
testers.
develop.
All right. Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I have one thing to add real quick. I thought Carolina said something really interesting. I think, and this is important to remember to listen to as developers for you all. Like, I've been the product owner before in our company, and I don't come from a technical background. I'm a recovering attorney, so I am not technical at all. And I've been the person asking for certain solutions using, don't use this because of, because my friend's brother told me that, Auth0 was not secure or something, and it oftentimes, if you listen to the CEO, like I'll be very honest, like sometimes in the past I would say something like that just to prove that I knew about a technology, and I'd say, hey, I would tell the team, hey, use this or use that, and it's like, I don't really know anything about it. The developers are the ones that use and vet these solutions every day, so don't listen to what they say. Like, always ask the questions. Like, don't let them tell you, or just, you obviously be polite about it, but ask a lot of questions, because you might end up in a very different place than you think, and then the product owner is eventually frustrated because you're not doing what they actually need you to do. So you have to make sure they're asking you to do the right thing. Anyway, that's just a
Yeah,
little
but it was a
side.
great segue to our second lesson. Speak up. So yeah, we are now on to the second stage of product lifecycle. And remember what I told you at the very beginning, that in the product team, there is business and there is development team. So they need to both work together in order to build a great product. So the first stage, the discovery, when you try to understand the why, this is where business plays a huge part, because they want to tell you the purpose. They want to explain the why. And when we are defining, this is when you shine as developers, because this is you are the experts, and you know the tools, you know the techniques. So we need to hear from you. So yeah, you need to speak up. And we were talking today in our team in MasterBorn on, like, there was a topic on like why our customers trust us. And I feel like that there are two groups of people, two different types of developers or people, yeah, however you want to look at it. There are yes men, so the people who build exactly what client tell them, like what the client think that they need. And there are us in MasterBorn. We are this other type. So we push back on ideas and we apply our critical thinking, because we know that we don't want to just give what client think they need. We want to give them what they really need. So yeah, if you want to be like us, please speak up, because this is also the best way to gain the client's trust and the business trust. But yeah, it's easy to say, to speak up, but we want to also tell you how to do it, and like what are the great questions or great things that you can say while working with product owners and with clients. So I will tell you from my perspective as a product owner on how I work with my team. And the example that I want to use is the team that is close to my heart. I work with them for 2 years already, and for a year, our product is live. So we've got quite a well process established together, and they know that when I come to them with a feature, just to explain it, even, like I would explain it with solution, of course, because this is the easiest way for me to do so. But they know that they can challenge me. They know that they can ask a lot of questions, because in the end, we are working together towards building a great product. So of course, as Karolina and Marta said, there would be like a why question asked. If I won't tell them that, they would ask for sure, because they know that like if they don't understand what we are building, they won't be able to provide best solution. So then I would try to explain the whole process, the whole feature to them, and there will be questions. So if they won't understand what I'm talking about, they will for sure let me know. If at one stage they see that some of the solutions that I proposed may not work, they would for sure tell me so, but they will also provide the counter solution. And usually they would provide more than one, and quite often also those solutions will be much easier and much easier to build than the one that I've proposed. So it's great because I would have options to choose from. Then they would also tell me about any possible blockers, and especially in the product that we have. This product is already live on production, so I feel like it's even harder to build new features into that, because we've got the limits of existing code. So they would tell me what this feature is blocked by, and how we can deal with these blockers by maybe planning differently. And also, what I really love about them is they will tell me about any potential risks. And if they tell me about any potential risks, even if we come across the problem later, we would have a solution already, because we would know about the risk, we would like mitigate the risks, and then we would deal with the problem. And of course, in the end, we would all together discuss our final solution, whether it really works, whether we would come back to the problem, we would see whether it answers the problem, and then I would feel much safer, because it's not only me being responsible for this product, but I know that I have the whole team behind me who we've worked out this feature with. So just to sum up, when you speak up, everybody wins. So you would avoid do-overs, because you would talk about multiple solutions, and you would choose the best one, so you wouldn't have to deal with rebuilding that later. By avoiding do-overs, you would of course save your time, you would save businesses time, because with the save time, they can build many different features later, and they will save money, of course. If we would be talking about different solutions, they are able to choose the best one. Of course, I also was telling you about mitigating risks, and if we mitigate risks, the business would also feel safer, and they would know that you care about the product, and this way you would gain their trust by simply speaking up. And in the end, of course, I know that I said that multiple times today, you would all together build a great product. And this is a really great feeling, and I feel that with the product that I told you about. It's a great feeling to build something that is a success. So I think that, guys, you can agree with that, yeah?
Definitely.
Hopefully. All right. So we already know and understand that the why and the purpose and the problem that we are solving. We've proposed the best possible solution. So you've talked with the business, you've chosen the best one, and now it's just time to deliver.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? No. Magda, do you really think that it's enough to develop a well-designed product in order to make it successful?
No.
It's not. There are still a lot of factors that affect this success. And we can see it just here, yes, such as deadline or competitors. There could be few great new players on the market before we'll launch the product. Users, because maybe users' behavior, they need change since the time that the client did a market research. Investors, maybe they won't decide to invest more money soon. Client's budget, because maybe there are non-investors and client invest their own money, so the budget is really limited. The first thing that I want you to take from this lesson is that what happens on the market has got a direct impact on the development. And because of this, we need development team to align to the business, to their goals, and to the changes that happen on the market. And this requires a great dose of agility. In all of this, let's do not forget about internal work of development team. In order to work effectively, they need to have excellent communication. It's crucial that we solve the blockers when they show up, and that we sync the work of QAs, designers, developers in a way that no one waits for the other to finish their part of work. Okay, so you got some theory, and you know already that development team needs to align to quite a lot of changes. In other words, we would say that they need to be agile. Now we want to tell you a few real-life examples from our projects from the delivery phase.
Yeah, so as Karolina told you, the development team needs to align to the business and needs to understand the business goal. And I want to tell you the story when we didn't do it. We didn't ask about the business goal. So yeah, we just started a very, very important project for MasterBorn, and we knew that if it works out, it can only get better from here. And of course, we did what we do best. We created a perfect code. We started to create a perfect functionalities. So fast forward to 2 months, we had a meeting with the client, and to our shock, they were not happy at all. And yeah, we were shocked because we all provided an impeccably built sign-in and sign-up. And did it show any value that our product will provide to the users? No, it didn't. So no wonder that client was not happy, especially, and Ray, you can, I think, tell us the story from our client perspective because you talked with them.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock. It was a new client for us, really important, and ended up being a success story. But they we built the most perfect login page from scratch. We didn't use a third-party tool.
It was beautiful, really.
And do you want me to tell the whole story?
You can go ahead. There were bubbles involved.
Yeah. And so our team had built this incredible animation. There was like a water theme for it's a company called Tentacle. That's fine. It's a live product now. We can share that. And so we built these beautiful bubbles that kind of move through the login page, and you could pop them, and it was really cool. But we didn't know the client was supposed to be showing at a board meeting the next day what we had built in the first 3 months. And so, the client had to go to the board meeting and basically tell them, we have a login screen with bubbles. And these guys that had just given millions of dollars were like, that's not going to cut it. Right. So, but anyway, that was, we really missed the mark on that one. But, I think that one of the lessons there was that it wasn't what was visible. Anyway, Magda, you can finish the.
Sure, I can. So yeah, in the end, we had a long discussion with them, and we actually did what we should have done at the very beginning. So we asked them, like, what is your business goal? And if we have asked, we would know that they have an investor meeting, and we would plan for that, but we didn't. But we learned a lesson from there. There was like a small bump up at the beginning. It actually appeared that our app was not in production for a year. So it didn't have to be like bug free. It didn't have to be perfect, but what it needed to be, it needed to show the value that will bring to customers, because our client would go to next board meetings with that. So I think that we talked with them then, and we've made a plan, and it appeared that like we didn't focus on UI that much, but we had to build a perfect backend solution, because this is what we are, extending up to this day. And yeah, we've got this successful cooperation with them till this day. This is this project that I told you about. We worked together for 2 years. But yeah, there are lessons learned in here. And the main lesson learned is that you need to ask for business goals, because if you won't ask, you won't design what's like towards it. So you won't design the solution that aligns with that. And also, like, the bonus lesson is that the job well done is a job done soon enough, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
And now let's talk a little about the sudden changes during our work, so the pivots. When they happen, development team also needs to align to the business. And especially about pivots, the development team needs to be really agile, because no one expects pivot. Okay, so in my project, we're building MVP, so the first version of the product. And we were just in the middle of the sprint. Almost all features for the sprint were in progress. Then we've got the information that our client will have super important meeting with the big company. This company could become one of the first big users of the app. If the meeting is successful, that could give the product a better start on the market. The meeting was in 3 days. The client asked us to stop all the work that we were currently doing and to develop a short list of improvements that they need for the meeting. That's exactly what we did. And I had this big pleasure to work with people who didn't have a problem with pivot and who understood business needs. We've reacted immediately, and we prepared everything that was needed on time. And one lesson learned that I have from this situation is to not get so attached to the plan for the sprint, because business needs are first.
And yeah, like, I've got another addition to like how you should not get attached to the code also. So last sprint, we had the situation in which we started building this functionality at the very beginning of the sprint. And in the middle of the sprint, it appeared that, okay, this functionality is so great that this one feature is not enough, and we want to build a whole big thing out of it. So at the end of the sprint, we were scraping like what we started at the very beginning. So it happens also. So yeah, don't get attached to the code either.
And from my perspective, it's going to be more about, like, from my project that I was a product owner of, it is more about the communication and being agile around communication. So in general, it was like a great project. It was a very big one, a very big success, and we're just finalizing it. The crew was to build, so the business, those guys were also like developers. They were also like tech. So what they wanted to have is to be able to query the reports to make some analysis on their application. So yeah, we were basically building that, and there was this one, like, we had 2 backend developers. There was this one, let's say his name was Mieczysław, for the simplicity and like of pronunciation that I already told you about. So Mieczysław was working on a task. And on Tuesday, Mieczysław said, like, this task will be ready by the end of the day. When on Wednesday, he says exactly the same thing, right? So I start to be like kind of suspicious. So, but on Thursday, I wanted to ask the same question, but the developer like doesn't show up on a daily at all. And on Friday, Mieczysław is like totally out of reach, and because he is like on a training day. So what happens with the task? The task is sitting in the so-called waiting room. It's waiting for it to be finished, but like, we are quite good with the time. So I think, okay, Mieczysław will be like working on from Monday onwards. But well, it unfortunately turned out to be only like a wishful thinking, because on Monday, Mieczysław went on sick leave. What was the effect? Well, the task was in progress for like 2 weeks now. It blocked the work of other backend developer, as we didn't know even like when to expect coming back. Like, we didn't know when Mieczysław will be back, like from this sick leave. So maybe it was a little bit too late, that the decision that I made to hand over like this task to other backend developer. But it happened. So in the end, it turned out that Mieczysław didn't know how to finish this task. And a lesson that comes from here is like, don't be like Mieczysław, be brave, always speak up, like, always communicate, always say it out loud that you are facing that you are facing an issue, because if it was communicated earlier, if the issue would be like have been communicated earlier, together we could have like work on the like alternative solution, or the other backend developer could suggest something like a good solution for that. But it was hidden, so we couldn't really do much about that. And actually, while we're on it, because I saw like a very good question like in the in the Q&A, and it happened like, let's say on this project. So I jumped in as a product owner. Sorry, maybe like first I'm gonna read the question.
That would be great.
Yeah. Thank you. So does a product own, no, it's not this one. Oh yeah, does a product owner necessarily have to be separate from a development team? In a smaller project, could one of the developers take the hat of being the product owner as well? So you're asking whether a developer could also be a product owner. Well, if a developer has a very good skill in shifting attention, it could possibly work. But it didn't work in case of this project, for example, because before I jumped into it as a solo product owner, that is not like it's not a developer. It was led by a developer, and it wasn't that there was like nothing wrong with the project, but the way that the customer felt about it later on was totally different, because I didn't need to let's say shift my attention between writing a code and taking care of business. What I could have done is I talked a lot with business. I knew, and I had this time, and I had the space to understand them and to know exactly what they want to build. And then I could have talked to the development team, and I was actually serving as this person I told you at the beginning. So I was like a sort of a translator, and it really helps when you have the only one role in one project, so you do not need to shift your attention between having two roles.
Yeah, but also we can answer it it depends.
Yes,
this is our favorite way of answering questions as product owners. Yeah, because if it has to happen like that, you will make it so it works out. So it's better to have a developer product owner than to have none, I would say. So. But yeah, the perfect situation is to have a separate person responsible for that, because they can focus on their job.
That is correct.
Marta, do you see any other?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it, and they are very interesting. And it's about the role of a product owner. How do you become a good product owner? What can we tangibly do to prepare? I guess the question is about taking courses maybe, or doing some certificates, that sort of stuff. I would say it helps, and it's a good add-on. For example, if you follow the Scrum's product owner, for example, certificate or anything like that, it definitely helps. It tells you a lot about frameworks, but from my experience, I would say it is best. It's talking to people and trying to understand them, is because it's really hard to bring it down to one tangible thing. It's it's all around. It's talking. It's basically making your skill of talking and actively listening even better. So you gain more experience while you do it. So just put yourself out there and try to do it. Even try to I don't know, maybe talk with some startup owners, why they wanted to do that, how they started, anything you can do that is around communication, conversations, and understanding people. That would help you very much.
Yeah, and I can also give you show you the different path, the one that I went through, because I started out as a tester. So I was a software tester for a few years first, and I've learned to work in projects. So I've learned the technical aspect as well, but I've learned how the products are actually built. And And I've took on more and more responsibility in the team. So instead of just testing, just like designing tests and writing automated tests, I've also took on the responsibilities of creating user stories, for example, for the team, talking to a client. I've asked plenty of questions. So you can also do it that way. You don't have to start out as a product owner.
And I have also one question that I think we could share here as some answers. What do you think? What do you do when business needs are too unrealistic? If they come first, how do you address that? So
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, if they are unrealistic, if you mean that it's really difficult to develop something, or actually it's just impossible, I think that sometimes the best what we can do for clients is to tell them the truth. So like share your expertise here and explain them why something cannot be done like they would like it to be. We can always think about alternatives. Maybe we'll find the value just, on the side somewhere else. But I think that it's really often about providing enough of context and explanation to the client, because they also do not want to lose their money, right?
Yeah.
They want to have a great success.
Yeah. I know sorry.
Go on,
ahead,
Magda.
Magda.
You go. You started.
Okay, so I can also say that what works also, sometimes instead of telling them, you show them. So you ask enough questions so that they see that they don't know enough to provide this particular solution, and they didn't think it through. So this is one option. And also the other option, the proactive one, is to split it down into smaller chunks and try to provide, like, first try to understand why they are actually needing it, and then split it to smaller chunks to provide it one by one, because maybe they don't need this whole huge solution, but the smaller one, the easier.
The way I like to do it is asking how this adds up to the value that you want to provide to your users. Will they, like, we want to launch fast, we want to build it quick, we want to build a minimum viable product, want to launch fast. So I ask how that would add to the how this adds to your users. Like, how do you solve the problem with for the users with that feature that you want to add? Like, does it even make sense to build? Of course, more politely, but yeah, that's what I do.
And if you will already know that it solves some value, solves some problems, so maybe if you cannot do it because it's impossible, you can maybe think about alternative solutions for that, because you already know what problems you want to solve.
But I think that when we are talking impossible, we are usually the most impossible things we are asked to do is to do some big task in a very short time.
That is correct. Yes, definitely.
But yeah, we can always deal with that by planning accordingly, and
Maybe we can jump now and start to sum up, and then we can still go back to questions, right?
Sure.
Okay. So to start summing this all up, we have a quiz for you, and we'll be summing this up by quiz.
So yeah, the first question is, what are the potential risks of building a product exactly the way as client has described it? Oh, wow, nice. Yeah, there is more than one answer correct here. So yeah, you're doing this right. Yay, wasted time and effort, possible do-overs, poor product market fit, building an unscalable solution.
You've listened. That's
yeah.
nice.
I would send you a heart, but I can't.
Oh, they knew that.
Oh yeah, it could be. Right. Okay. So I see most of you has answered. Yeah. So it's perfect. Yeah. You got it all right. Actually, each answer is correct here, because if we want to build something that exactly as it was described, we can build for product market fit, we can have possible do-overs, we can waste a lot of time and effort and building an unscalable solution. And in order to avoid that, I want to say that something that we already said, that just to show you how why and speaking up comes together like in this part, because the product team and the business like always have to work together to build this great product. And the product team is formed by everyone, right? By developers, by testers, designers, product owners, scrum masters, that like, and the product owners talks between them and the business. So this is exactly like building this product without understanding the why. So building it exactly as like the client described it, it significantly like lowers its chance for a success, because only by understanding the why you can suggest the how. So like, so you can speak up and you can like suggest how we can actually build this product. So everybody wins when we speak up.
Yeah. Okay, so on to the next question.
Exactly. What to do if business makes a sudden change in the scope? You can sit down and cry, give up and quit your job, find out the reason for a change and propose the best approach, or get mad at the business for going back and forth. Is it like a multiple selection, Magda? Do you remember?
I don't think so. But you can always sit down and cry,
Yeah.
Like if this releases your stress and emotions. I do that a lot.
And anything that come on, So yeah, so yes, this is again like you got it like perfectly right. So it's not that like it's not that the business is always happy doing like last minute change. It's not like it's like their goal in their mind that they want to like okay, we're closing this sprint, like then boom, yeah, let's make a change. No, it's not like that. But we need to bear in mind that it's like completely impossible to predict what happens on the market, and whatever happens, we need to align to that. And also like being developers, being product owners, we need to, let's say, also have that in the back of our heads that every change should, that's not always like that, but should be driven by like, by a market need. So basically we need to cooperate to make this work. So if we see that this is exactly like this, like business wants a change and it was, let's say, driven by a market need, it's okay, we can change, like we can change the focus, we can do the pivot, but we need to assess that also, right? So yeah, so we just got to cooperate and learn to be agile, and everything should work fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so another summary. So just to remind you the three tips that we want you to take with you. And actually there is a bonus tip, and this is the one that I think you already know. Just remember that you are always there to build a great product. And with that in mind, please understand the why of the client, speak up, and be agile.
Exactly. And now coming back to your answers from the beginning, actually, I just want to have a look at that and see like how you saw it and how it looks like, and like just to wonder if anything has changed on your end. I saw like you at the beginning, like you had it like all right, like the main I see answer was actually the problem solving. So yes, this is more or less what we said, but we also had some answers regarding coding, and we were a little bit like thinking that maybe you want to hear a lot about from developers' perspective, because the question you have sent to us were really related to like a technical stuff. But we are like but we really hope that with our presentation today we showed you that it's not always about the coding, like if you thought about it like that way. But I also see that you have like a lot of perspective on that. Like this is also the communication and other parts of software development are quite crucial.
Yeah, and coding, of course, is a huge part of it, and this is where your skills are. But we just wanted to show you that in the world like of software developers, so like look around. This will be your competitors on the market, your friends right now. So we wanted to show you that it takes more skill to stand out in the crowd of software developers.
I would also add too that I think it's really important to consider like the term good developer or great developer. I don't think that has a lot of meaning. We always say effective, and an effective developer has the qualities that we talked about. They wouldn't be blocked for a week because they're afraid to admit they didn't know how to solve a specific problem. Those are not characteristics of effective developers, and risking not knowing, having all the answers is actually going to make you much more of an effective developer. So it's not about being the smartest developer. I think that, once you kind of get out of school context and you're not really comparing, grades, and I know that it's important in that part of the life, but in the business world, it's really about being effective. And you don't have to have all the answers, you can look it up. It's a lot more about being effective, asking the right questions, and being able to be part of a team. So hopefully we gave you just a little bit of a different perspective, other than the things that you're going to know. The table stakes is knowing the technology and the vocabulary of what you're building. So
Great. Thank you, Gray. Before we go into, we wanted to leave some time for Q&A at the end as well. We've answered some questions. I know that you will have some more, and that there are some more asked by you. But before we go into that, we also have a little bonus for you, because we felt bad that you've asked that many questions before before our lecture, and they were mostly technical, that we asked our developers to answer some of those for you. So.
All right, so Damian, could you tell me what sped up your development process the most?
Smart people. I really appreciate how my colleagues love to share their knowledge and how fast I grow thanks to them.
Awesome, thank you. What motivates you at work?
I think what motivates me at work is the ability to learn about the needs of the user.
Growth.
I think bringing ideas into life.
Helps you to succeed in the workplace.
Read acceptance criteria carefully and thoroughly, and test your solutions.
Thank you. What's the biggest thing that you've learned between your first job and this job?
That the technical documentation of the tools and frameworks I use is the best source of truth. In the past, I used to Google some tutorials and other stuff, and when I'm searching for information right now, I just go to the technical documentation and I get what I want.
Girls, does the imposter syndrome ever go away?
No.
Hi, Adam. What is the difference in writing code in class and at work?
In school, you write your code to pass something. You write it for it to just work, or you write to prove yourself, to prove how skillful you are. Whereas in the business environment, the goals are quite different. So the goal of writing code in business environment, from my perspective, is ease of communication. So the code is not something you show off or prove yourself. It's a vehicle of the clearest communication you can make. You can name things, structure it so that each responsibility is clear, the better.
Cool.
So it's all about the clarity and the simplicity of the message you are writing with your code.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, Magda, we can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, I was muted.
You're back. You're back.
We had to have at least one of those, online meeting stuff. So I was muted. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm so glad that they've made this video for you. And also, just for clarification, imposter syndrome does go away. With more projects you do, with more tasks you have that you can prove yourself with. If you speak with other people, they also have it. So you can learn throughout your career that every person has doubts. So, and it's easier to live with yours. Yeah. So I would say that. And this is not the slide that we wanted. We wanted this one.
Yeah, actually, how much time do we have to answer your questions? You can tell us, where are we with that?
I think we have an hour left of class, technically.
40 minutes.
Or 40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Luke, I have a question about, when we were talking about like, people, sometimes when we were talking about some of the other slides about speaking up. And so I was curious, if you have like, if there's like an idea that intuitively you strongly disagree with, like there's a feature they want to do or a change they want to make that you think is detrimental, how far do you go before you just kind of accept it? Try to
I would say find the best words to say that, but also what helps with that is to always offer the other way to do it. So that's yeah. So instead of just saying, "Oh, okay, this won't work. This is not a good idea. This would break this and that," you can always say, "Oh, but like, did you think about building it that way?" And find the counter proposition, and this works in a lot of situations, I would say.
And also,
always-
and also
Sorry.
the question was also about like how far can we go with, let's say, rejecting those like extra requests. So I would say it depends.
Oh, I've got the story for that. I was
Go
meant
on.
to use it, but I forgot. Sorry.
Go on.
So yeah, we had this client, and we were building the search engine. And you know how search engine works. You type in the search word, and then you see the list of results ordered by accuracy. So you usually expect to see the most accurate responses at the very top, and then like as you go down, you won't find what you are looking for usually. But our client, for some reason, was stuck on an idea of ordering the results by date, just showing the newest at the top. So that meant that they would like type in the search term, and what they were searching for would be like the like very deep into the search results, like on the, I don't know, 50th page or something like that. And we tried to drive him out, like out of this idea. We tried to explain, but sometimes the explanation doesn't work. And sometimes you just have to build it for them so that they can see with their own eyes. And this is what happened in the situation. So he actually saw how it worked. He saw that, okay, I'm typing something, but like the results make no sense. And like up from that point, he trusted our advice. But he needed to see that. So sometimes you need to waste this time, but it will be like for your own good in the future.
Okay, do you limit or cut off like new requests for features that from clients? Is that okay?
Like, do we assume from a start how many we can take on?
Or do we take new when we've planned, like we
I
had
think-
planned and then they came up with new ideas?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what she was asking. Like, if you have a
Mhm.
client that just like kept asking for like more.
And we've got plenty of those clients actually. They want to squeeze in as much as possible.
Yeah. How do you settle limit?
Mhm.
Well, I had that in my like latest project. It's like it depends. Like you need to see what is the main like thing that business like want to provide. Like, what do they care about the most? Like, do they care, for example, on the quality, or do they care about the time? Do they want to launch fast, or do they want to launch something that is like, you know, impeccable? It's usually that they want to launch it as fast as possible and test it as fast as possible. So what I did with that client, they also like wanted to have this like I can't really say the details because it's in progress and it's not launched yet. I would love to say you that, but it's like you just need to make them, let's say, aware that, and like be totally transparent about that. That okay, like, you know, we can build that, we can add it. Let us think about it. Like I would say that, let us think about it. We like immediately like get together, we discuss it, we try to like estimate it, how much time it will take, how it's like how technically advanced it is to build it. And then we go back to them and we say, okay, yeah, we can do that, but it will like take us like this much time. So it will like extend the delivery time, might be quite significantly or not. Like, do you want to add it? but remove maybe any other feature that you have, so that we we can fit in the time that we have estimated at the beginning? Or do you want to extend the delivery time and launch later?
Yeah, so there would always be trade-offs. Yeah, so either we need to extend the time, or we need to swap it with something else.
We negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would sum it up with that it's really important to inform the client about consequences always, and then it's their decision, but mostly then they will understand, and then they will think if that's for sure what they want to do.
Yeah, and it's all about clarity. We've got clients like I've got one client who always has a lot of great ideas. So I've learned, okay, but is it for now or is it for the future? And usually it's for the future. He just wanted to share it. So
yeah.
I didn't hear the question.
So what are you guys looking for in like software developers that you're hiring? Or I think she says they weren't hiring. But
No, if they are.
If they are. Yeah.
It would be great to ask, because we are not hiring, we are not interviewing developers, but I would say in our company, we are all, and Gray, I think that you can help with that. We are always looking for open-minded people, because I think it's always better to have a person who is open-minded and will maybe is lacking some skills, like technical skills, but they can catch up very quickly. And I would say that's important, but we also have software tests, so some coding
it's
tests.
funny. We posted an article about it today on our blog. So you can get someone must have planted that question. But anyway, no, I think that like you said, that I'm always solving for effective developers, because in my experience, effective developers build the best products and have the most efficiency. So we really, soft skills are really important. We have values at our company, and fit to values is really important. Soft skills, and of course, our CTO, he's pretty, he has a high standard of development as well. So the skills are kind of a given, but also, I think that the lack of the willingness to learn and growth is our number one value at MasterBorn. So the willingness to grow and learn can be made up for almost anything.
Yeah, and I would also add to that it's great if the developer is proactive, because it's really, really much easier to work with proactive developers. So they won't tell you, okay, that sucks, this is the worst idea ever, but they would tell you, okay, I don't like it, but let's try to figure out the better way to do that.
And they will provide the explanation. It's so useful because we are not technical and we often do not understand why we cannot build something. So then we need to go to the client and explain this often. And if we won't understand it, that makes our job really harder.
And it's something that you also learn along the way while you're already working, but making sure that, explaining difficult and technical stuff is always quite difficult. But if you learn how to tell it in an easy way, that helps a lot. Maybe and you might be asked about that during your recruitment process, because recruiter always actually probably won't be the technical person. So yeah, it's I think it's good to know how to explain difficult stuff in easy words.
In an easy way,
So Sammy just asked, if a software development team is falling behind or not meeting deadlines, what kind of conversations would ensue from that? And then, can you repeat the last part of your question?
Yeah, are there steps you would take before that, taking on a project to ensure that you're developing?
Okay, so yeah, if you didn't hear that, what would be the steps before the project?
That's a great question, actually. So before starting a project, we set rules, and we work in a Scrum. Are you familiar with that? I think that it's quite well known. So yeah, we work in Scrum, and Scrum has rules. So it also helps us working towards the goal. And also at the very beginning of every project, we talk with each other just to establish the the best ways to work, and the best practices that we brought with different projects from different projects. And I feel like this is important. And when we are going too slow, I think that the best tool for that is retrospective, and I feel like it's very, very, very useful. And in our teams, in my team, the one that I told you about, the one like in which we actually worked very slowly at the very beginning, the story that we told you with Tentacle. I think that what we need usually is a conversation, because there's always a reason for the team to go too slow. There's always the reason. And we don't want to blame anyone. We just want to learn, like, understand the reason and solve it. So this is usually that. There are, of course, different techniques. You can use different techniques for retrospective. But what is important in my perspective is that you need to talk with each other. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I would add too that like the only reason for like the enemy of speed is uncertainty, right? So if things are uncertain, they're going to be slow.
That's true.
And whether that's in understanding the client's product requirements, or that's in the user stories, or it's a knowledge gap with one of the developers. But yeah, I would say diagnosing like where the uncertainty is, and one of our values is also clarity. And so clarity is kind of one of the most important things that you'll hear our team talk about. And we want to ask questions until everything's really clear.
Yeah, and I can give you like some practical examples. For example, when we were delivering things for the client, like we've made a plan and usually didn't reach the plan. So we talked about like what is the reason, and we found very easy way to deal with that. So we've changed the way we do the dailies. So during the daily, we usually went through the board like one story after another, and we shifted the focus just to start with things that are like almost closed. So we started with like, what can we finish today? What can we finish as soon as possible? And we talked about it. We've planned it that way, and it really helped. That guys were not like starting the next bits of work because they thought that they need to do it, and this way we weren't closing the other ones. So those would be like those kind of solutions.
I would add one other thing too, from the business perspective. Like the perception of speed in the development team is often like not a real thing. Like it's often just misaligned expectations, or some external pressure. Like the business has some external pressure, and they're asking that this is how things get thrown down the line, right? And ends up on a developer's desks, and they're kind of facing an impossible situation. So oftentimes there's like mitigating or factors that are causing it outside of the control, and it's leading like one person to ask another to do something that isn't possible or isn't reasonable. So I think like backing up and getting like asking why, getting really clear expectations, and then being honest. I think the worst thing that you can do is to overpromise and underdeliver. And I think that's something that our team, we actually, I would say, don't really have that problem very often, because we usually over deliver. And like we're conservative in our estimations. Like it's not like take our estimate that we give you and multiply it by 2. It's kind of like it's usually the opposite, take off 20%. So but that's all about expectation setting, right? And so our clients are really, really happy because we deliver early, because we set the expectation that it was going to take a little bit longer. So speed is like really a matter of perception.
And that is like very, very humble, but we always like try to actually prevent those sort of situations. So whenever a business asks us, okay, when this can be done, we never say like a specific date. Like you shouldn't be giving like any of the like specific dates, because it's like it is so unpredictable, and you cannot and you don't even want to like plan too many things ahead, because like so many things change along the way that it wouldn't make sense. You would need to change this plan like over and over again. So you don't say like you don't say that it is going to be end by 21st of July. You just say it will be ready like in the summer. Or maybe that's too much, but like you give them like a range of like a month, like we can build it out like around 8 or 12 months. So that sort of things.
Yeah, and yeah, and you always have to focus on clarity and always set the expectations. So always tell them like this is the plan, and that they would see how how the progress is going. And I think that what works also, and this is very very useful in the projects that I worked on, like have regular status meetings with your clients or the people that you are bringing your product to, because they would see along the way what is changing. They won't be like waiting, they would be informed along the way. This helps a lot. We've answered much more that we were asked, but
over delivered again.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So if you didn't hear that, that was what would you want to see on a resume from like an early career software developer? Is that kind of okay.
Sorry, could you repeat once more?
Yeah, so I got it. What do you want to see on a resume from an early in their career software developer?
I was actually talking with our HR representative, and she told me that it's really hard to say, especially from our perspective as a Polish company, because it may happen that like every company is looking for something specific, and especially we in Poland may have different resumes and different expectations that you have in US. So it's really hard to answer that from the perspective of European company.
I'd say one of the big differences is any chance that you can get to work on a project, even if it's a friend's project. So if you have a friend who wants to build an app and you want to play product owner for him for 3 months or something, or you want to try like anything that you can do that can give you like low risk reps in doing any of these things, whether development or product ownership or just helping someone flesh out their idea. Maybe one of your parents has some crazy idea for an app that they want to do, and just taking them through the process, like asking all these questions. And then I guess in terms of like the resume, just, like, I think that what we would all say is just, we want people who are willing to do and act and learn. So any experience that you can have, even if it's unpaid, I think helps. And then, I would say that certifications are good, like to show that you're like, we really value growth at MasterBorn. And so anyone who's taken the time to go through, product management or institute certification or Scrum certification, or at least done some of these online courses in addition to their, university coursework, I think is really important. And it shows, like, a story I like to tell is one of our interns, he was a designer, but he did free code camp, first 10 lessons. And I was just really impressed. And so we ended up hiring him, and he's now our head of design and has worked with us and really effective employee. But, like, what I was impressed by him as an intern is that, he was willing to kind of go outside of his domain, and just, he had a real motivation to learn about development, even though he's a designer. So I don't know, anything that can show that you're hungry and willing to learn and about the whole process, I think is really what I would look for.
And I would add to that, like, one more thing, that it's great to build a CV or resume for the job. So just like, I know it's extra effort because it's easier to just build one and just have it. But like, if they ask for like particular specific things on their job offer, make sure that you have those. Like, even if as Gray said, it doesn't have to be like hands-on experience in the project in IT, but like, if you have a way to show like those skills that they ask for, it's great to include them.
And for me, it helped like a lot what we like just said, even it's like unpaid experience. Like, again, while I wasn't applying for a developer role, but more for like a product management, like management roles, I attended, like, I was in a students association when I was at my university, and I was like, doing like all these like crazy things, like, organizing concerts, like organizing some events like at my university. So for me, like, if you have something like that where you can like, grow in terms of like coding, like, can you do something extra, you can actually have fun, like, because you are like still doing it like not commercially, so you like, you don't need to stress that much around that. and like it's a great plus in your resume later on.
I would say too that like an unpaid internship, even for 3 months, can be worth 2 years of experience. And you don't even have to get the job typically if you are willing to do unpaid. So I think that there's a really asymmetrical path for a lot of these things. Like if you are willing to like jump in and give 3 months of unpaid, or even while you're working. I think in Poland it's a lot different because there's a 5-year Master's of Computer Science and there's 2 years of externship. So you don't graduate without 2 years of essentially half-time work experience. And so the resumes look a lot different for people, coming out of universities in Poland with a Master's in Computer Science, because they have 2, sometimes 3 years of work experience already. So I think that, and it's almost always unpaid, or just like minimally paid. So I think that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, actually, like I think we've got 2 to 3 months like compulsory internship. It's not 2 years, luckily, but we are lucky that we are able to start working early, because our university allows us for that. So like, for example, I started with 1 month free internship, and then I continue with this company, and I was still studying at that time. And it was, I think, I still had 2 years to finish, and I was already working at the same time.
Oh yeah. Do you have any like final piece of advice for our class, I guess? And also I kind of have a question.
Final piece of advice?
Speak up, be agile.
Speak up, be agile. Understand the why.
I wanted to say that communication is so important. Like really, your skills sometimes don't need to be so big, because this communication sometimes is really, really more important. So whatever, like even if you don't know how to do something, let's just communicate this. Just already do not wait, like maybe you will find out a solution or anything. Mostly that's the most probable situation that someone will help you. So if you will say that you cannot do something, there will be someone who will help you. I think Damien on our video, on our recording, he said that his teammates are helping him a lot, and that helped him grow. So.
Yeah,
Sometimes
and I think that working, and
I was just saying that sometimes even saying things out loud makes you think about them differently, because you don't need a specific suggestion from other person, but you may come up with it like on your own just because you said it out loud.
And like just remember that like working in software development is like, it's all about teamwork. So you will be surrounded by people, you would have to talk to people, like, so it's great to like them as well. So it's great, like if you have a team, to make some those small rituals. For example, me and my team, we've got our breakfasts that we do every second week, every other week, and it's great because this is really team bonding, and it's much easier to work with people that you like. So I highly recommend that.
Liking people, yeah.
Liking people is cool.
Yeah. I would add too, that's really good advice. And I would say that, when you're considering like where you want to work and the types of jobs, like the world of software development is really, really diverse, and it's really huge. I mean, a lot of you will probably end up doing your own company, and you may end up being, founders of your own tech companies. You could also go work for startups. You can also get jobs at massive companies. And I think that something that we've learned as MasterBorn is that like even the difference between, a 5-person startup and a 1,000-person startup, even though everyone calls themselves a startup, right? Unless you're, GE or something. So anything under 5,000 is a startup. It's not all created equally. And the development process, it's infinitely more complex and difficult and less rewarding, I think, the larger the company you go to. Not to say they're not doing incredibly cool things and have amazing teams at Google and Facebook, but I would say that be careful, because there's some really challenging environments, especially in rapidly growing companies, it's tough. Like it's really hard to build. It's a lot easier to build to like do the right thing from the beginning than to, be in a rapid growth company. So I don't know. I would just say, really think about and ask a lot of questions about how the development team is managed. And what we've seen from the outside, building MVPs for, we built like 35 MVPs in the last 5 years or something. And not everyone knows what they're doing. And so there's a lot of room. Like if you think you have the best idea, but you don't have a lot of experience because you're like, there's no way that these people could be managing something in this way, you might be right, actually. So don't assume like that everyone knows what they're doing. Software development's really, really hard. And it's really even harder to do at scale. So when you have 1,000 people trying to build something or 1,000 developers in a company, it gets really, really hard. And management, communication, all these things become incredibly important. It's much, much easier in a really small team. So I would just say, like, carefully consider like the size of the company and kind of know what you're getting into, because it's not all created equal and not everyone knows what they're doing.
Having that said, I think we can wrap it up.
I would get a few more seconds because I went into the Mentimeter and I looked for some other questions, and I found one interesting one. There is one about automated tests, and I will just tell you because there is a question do client understands the importance of budgeting for automated test code? Some do, some
most don't.
It depends on the size of the company also. So and again, it depends, and I think it depends on how well you sell it. If you sell it so that they would see the advantage, they would allow for that, but they need to understand why would they benefit from it.
There was also a question about refactors. I think it's really similar. Depends how you will sell it.
Yeah. And I love this one because about proxy product owners. So I will read it out loud. So proxy product owner has been described as a Scrum anti-pattern. And as proxy POs, how do you combat dumbing down info for PO and deliver desires of PO? What happens when those wishes are undeliverable? Sorry, English is not my first language. So starting with why we actually have proxy POs, simply because of the time zones and time difference. Right now in Poland is 8:40 p.m. And not all developers would be willing to work that hours just to work in an American company. So that's why we have the middleman. But it's not always the case that we are the wall between the client and the team, because it's not at all the case, because we've got a lot of meetings together and we invite developers to meetings with clients often, especially when we are ideating for the new project or are talking about very complex solutions. So we don't want to, especially if some of us are not technical, we don't want to be this we know that we won't bring the same ideas of the clients to the team, and we won't explain well the solutions of the team to the clients. So we invite team quite often. It's just we have proxy product owners just for the simple fact of managing making our work easier as a team, but we work together with the client quite often.
Making sure that the value is met, we are, let's say, the guards of the value. So we are whenever anything has to be delivered and the tech team needs some explanation, we can and if the value is, let's say, forgotten at some point, then we are we are here just to say it again and make sure that whatever we deliver is according to that value.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're also focusing on product owners in our lecture, because product owners is always this middleman. There's a lot of stakeholders, and it's so great that developers do not need to talk to all of them, because it's really you can imagine that every of them needs something different. And there is a lot of information. So there is this one man who understands everything from stakeholders, get the needs, and then go to development team. Sometimes they have proxy product owners. In our case, they have. And I think that we are right hand of product owner, something like that. But it's not always needed.
Yeah, but we don't have to cut them off.
I'd say the last thing that is also is we really enforce one of our requirements for working with clients is that they have to have a product owner. And so really, like, sometimes the convention of proxy product owner, just in the very practical sense, is to make sure there's like this one-to-one relationship and really strong interface with the client, because, you know, many people in startup land don't understand what the value of a product owner. They haven't, you know, taken the courses. They don't understand why this is a good discipline and a good practice for building software. So, you know, there'll be a CEO, a COO, and a CFO, like, all trying to kind of dump requirements at you. And so we always require there to be a named product owner on the client. And most of our success happens with the higher the quality of the product owner on the client side is a huge success factor for us as well. So we have to often educate our clients about that, about how to, you know, how best to build software, and that goes to what I said before. Not everyone knows what they're doing. So, you know, don't be afraid to suggest frameworks and processes, because they, you know, they shouldn't be the goal, but they really do help bring some predictability to the development.
Yeah, it's coming pretty close to the end of class. We got like 6-7 minutes here, so.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I think I just want to say thanks to you for everyone for the time. We're definitely available if anything is on your mind. You know, we'll leave a contact address, and you can find us on all the socials. LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to find us. But, you know, feel free to drop us a question if you have anything that you want to know about, or anything about product owners, or have a question for one of our developers. You know, we'd love to make ourselves available. So don't hesitate. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit of what we've learned. And yeah.
And we don't have a survey prepared, but if you want to share some feedback into like a Q&A to tell us like how did you like it? I know it's the end of the term for you, so you're probably like not thinking about the stuff anymore. But if you want to share like any feedback, like how did you like it, what was valuable for you, then we will like be very grateful for that.
Yeah, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's the end of the terms. Like just like we will keep the Mentimeter, so if you can post it in like Q&A, I think it will be like, you know, if you want to share a few words, then that would be great.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, have a great summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 We all appreciate you guys coming out.